extraneous variables and experimental and control groups. And if you're going to take psychology, you're going to definitely see this. You're going to take biology, you're going to definitely see this. Anything where in university you are going to enter and you are going to conduct experiments, you're definitely going to see this. So an extraneous variable is, so determining causal relationships can be complicated because we have to consider extraneous variables. And this is a variable that may either affect the dependent or independent variable. Basically, it's like an extra variable. If you take a look at like the first 1, 2, 3, 5 letters in extraneous, it's an extra or like external variable. For example, term marks and final exam marks for students have a positive linear correlation. So basically, you better do better during the year, you do better on the exam. That's it. Okay, but there are some outside variables, okay, such as there's the student's aptitude, so whether or not they're just capable of like taking tests, their study habits, the amount of time they had before the test or before the final exam, and the ability to work under pressure. So we have all these other variables that it's going to be very, very, very difficult to control across many people, like experimenting many people. And so what you're going to do is you're going to try to get people that are very similar, but of course there's going to be differences in them. So in order to reduce the effect of these extraneous variables, researchers compare an experimental group to a control group. So when you have all these people that are like quite similar, what you're going to do is you're going to experiment on some of them, and then on the other ones you're not actually going to experiment on the other on like the control group. So the experimental group, this is when you actually vary the independent variable, whereas the control group, you don't actually vary the independent variable. Okay, you kind of just like let them be, and you still take data from them. So by having these two groups as similar as possible, like as, for example, maybe living in the same neighborhood, maybe same demographics, parents make the same amount of money, maybe parents together versus parents divorced, that type of idea, like same age, having those groups as similar as possible, having both an experimental and a control group allows the researcher to rule out cause and effect being attributed to just extraneous variables. So you can rule out those extraneous variables. Now, using a control group. So basically, let's just scroll down here. We're going to identify the experimental group, the control group, and then the independent and dependent variables. Okay, a medical researcher wants to test a new drug believed to help smokers overcome the addictive effects of nicotine. 50 people who want to quit smoking volunteer for the study. The researcher carefully divides the volunteers into two groups, each with an equal number of moderate and heavy smokers. One group is given nicotine patches, so that's the experimental group. The individuals given nicotine patches. Well, the second group uses ordinary nicotine patches. Given new nicotine patches. And the control group, individuals given ordinary nicotine patches. There we go. Okay, independent variable, dependent variable. So, 14 people in the first group quit smoking completely, as do 9 people in the second group. So the independent variable, something that they're going to actually measure, is new versus ordinary nicotine patches. Okay, and what's going to depend on whether or not they get a new or ordinary nicotine patch is the number of people who quit smoking. Okay, can the researcher conclude that the new drug is effective? Well, they have the experimental group and the control group. The people in the groups are very, very common because if you look here, there's an equal number of moderate and heavy smokers in each of the group, and then they're controlling one group by just giving them ordinary nicotine patches, and they are releasing the new nicotine patch. So they want to know if it's more effective, basically, than the ordinary one. Like, we're going to give everyone at least like the ordinary one, and then some people a new one, and then see where it goes. So I think that they can conclude if the new drug is effective because they're definitely comparing it to the old drug. And then what further studies should the researchers do? Well, maybe they should study their new nicotine patch versus nothing, or versus like nicotine gum. And maybe they can have like different ages. And then also, let's move this up, or so different age people, or they can have different length of time that they smoked for. So not just how heavily they smoke, but also the length of time that they smoke for.